About the time that my distant cousin Paul Charbonnet was searching out his family history on Ancestry.com, I was engaged in the same process on the West Coast, where I'd grown up in an extended family of Creoles of color, resettlers from the early days in the Treme of old New Orleans. Unlike Paul, who had access to records left by his grandfather, my search had abruptly ended upon reaching the bewildering slave curtain somewhere in the mid 1800s. Though there were surely ancestors before those years, I'd hit a psychological roadblock caused by self-imposed prohibitions, something nearly every African American has experienced in attempting to trace their beginnings. The thought of attempting to connect my family with their white antecedents simply didn't occur to me. My history ended with my great-great-grandfather, Dorson Charbonnet, as if his had been a virgin birth. It seems curious now, and looking back, that I wouldn't have been curious to delve into his mysterious beginnings. It was at this point that I simply closed the books and returned to exploring my maternal line, which suffered the same fate at discovering my great-great-grandmother, the slave Celestine of no last name. Both my maternal and paternal lines ended somewhere before the Civil War, as if that was the beginning of time. I was satisfied that both ancestors of color would have to serve as the beginnings of my story. That is, until I received a message from this stranger, Cousin Paul, reaching out with warmth and acceptance from the white side of our family. He was seeking to identify a list which held the names of my father's siblings. This would become the beginning of the coming together of the great American Charbonnet family narrative that united the black and white relatives after centuries of separation. Our story is America's story, a story lived by most of us as the result of a still unprocessed history indelibly marked by slavery and the tragedy of the Civil War to end after 300 years. Our standing together at the grave of our ancestor in common, white, Amable Charbonnet, closed the circle with us both inside. That moment still stands as monumental in a long life of incompleteness. I'm still adjusting to the exalted feeling of being whole that was born that day.